ever find your own thoughts working against you? Maybe especially when you're trying something new, like, say, getting better at English. You know, that little voice. The one that says, I'll never be fluent, or maybe, ugh, I just sound stupid when I try. Ah. Well, these thoughts, they aren't just sort of unhelpful background noise. Our sources today show they're actually incredibly powerful. They can really shape what you do, chip away at your confidence, and honestly, hold you back. So today, our mission isn't just about, ignoring those thoughts. It's bigger. We want to look at how to maybe transform the whole way your mind operates. We're going deep into the why these patterns stick around, finding some really potent tools to maybe reprogram that internal chat, and importantly, how action really locks in those changes.
That's exactly it. Yeah, this deep dive, you could think of it as your guide to, well, maybe killing negative thinking, as dramatic as that sounds. We've pulled out some really sharp insights from a whole range of fascinating sources, and they don't just explain why we get stuck in these loops, but they really give you the mental tools to dismantle them. So whether you're trying to master a skill, like a language, or maybe you're just aiming for a bit more peace and confidence day to day, this is definitely for you. We're going to uncover some specific, sometimes kind of surprising insights and strategies that actually work.
Okay, so let's unpack this right from the start then. What is negative thinking, really? And why does it feel so, I don't know, sticky sometimes?
Yeah, sticky is a good word for it. It's way more than just feeling a bit sad or worried now and then. Negative thinking, as our sources describe it, it's more like a patterned orientation. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like a default way your mind jumps to problems or fears or even failures that haven't even happened.
Okay, so less like a mood, more like a habit of the mind.
Exactly. It's kind of like putting on sunglasses that are permanently gloomy. Even if it's bright outside, everything looks dark. And the tricky part is your brain starts to believe the world is gloomy and not that it's just the sunglasses, And that's how something temporary can start to feel like a fixed reality.
That's a really strong image. So what are some of these patterns then? The ones we might recognize, the ones that sort of cling to us?
Well, you might catch yourself in loops like, I always mess things up, or maybe nobody really gets me, or sticking with the language example, I'll just never sound like a native speaker. Oh, these aren't just passing thoughts. Our sources call them cognitive distortions. That's the technical term.
Cognitive distortions.
Yeah, it's basically where our brain takes a little piece of reality and then twists it sometimes, like really dramatically.
It twists it.
Oh.
Okay, cognitive distortions. Sounds pretty serious. Could you give maybe a less obvious example?
Yeah.
How does our brain actually do that twisting?
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. One really common one is called overgeneralization. This is where like one single mistake or maybe a small setback gets blown up to represent everything.
Oh, okay.
So you stumble over, I don't know, a tricky verb tense once in a meeting, and suddenly your brain tells you, see, I'll never be able to speak confidently in English. One instance becomes always.
Gotcha. Inflating one moment.
Exactly. And another one is catastrophizing. That's where you immediately jump to the absolute worst case scenario from something pretty minor. So maybe you mispronounce one word slightly and your mind instantly goes to, everyone heard that, I'm totally embarrassed, my career is over.
Well, yeah, that sounds familiar.
And the first really crucial step, according to all our materials, just realizing these thoughts are not facts. They're not set in stone. They're just sentences in your head, propositions, things you could actually look at, question, and importantly, rewrite.
That feels like a huge shift right there. Just seeing them as sentences, not undeniable truths. But if they're not facts, and they're obviously not very helpful, why? Well, why do our brains even do this? Is there, like, a reason we're wired this way?
Yeah, this is where it gets really fascinating and maybe a bit counterintuitive. It connects back to something really ancient, something built in called the negativity bias.
Ah, the negativity bias. I've heard of that, like how criticism sticks more than compliments.
Exactly that. But our sources go a bit deeper. It's not just about memory, it's about how it constantly, subtly pulls our attention. Think of it like an old alarm system. It's not just remembering past dangers, it's actively looking for potential threats, even scanning for them in perfectly safe situations now.
So it's actively seeking problems.
In a way, yes. And they even cite studies showing how this bias can actually undermine how we see our own successes. It can almost like mentally delete the evidence of our progress, even when we are getting better.
Wow. So it's filtering our current experience too, maybe even erasing the good stuff. That almost sounds like self-sabotage, even if it started as a survival thing. But okay, if our brains are sort of hardwired with this negativity bias, how much can we really change it? Are we just like putting a Band-Aid on it? Or can we genuinely rewire something that deep?
That's a really key question. And understanding the bias isn't about blaming yourself, right? It's just recognizing, okay, brain, you're doing your old safety scan thing. Once you see it, you can almost say, thanks for the input, brain, but I've got this handled now.
Yeah.
You're probably not going to eliminate the bias entirely, but you absolutely can learn to manage how it shows up today. And the real power move is catching these thoughts as they happen in real time. Our sources have some pretty clever ways to do that.
Okay, so catching them in the act. That makes sense because they often start so subtly, don't they? Almost like a whisper. How do we even begin to notice them when they're that sneaky?
Awareness is absolutely the starting point. You have to become like a detective for your own thoughts. And one really powerful trick, something emphasized again and again in our sources, is to externalize that voice. Give it a name.
Give the voice a name.
Yeah, or even like a funny cartoon character. Imagine there's this little nagging roommate in your head. Maybe call her Worried Wendy or Negative Nick.
Yeah.
This is the voice telling you things like, don't bother trying, you'll just fail, or everyone's going to laugh, or you're just not cut out for this.
Okay. Naming it? That separates it from me, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's like seeing the person behind the curtain. Suddenly that big, scary inner critic isn't me. It's just Nick or Wendy, whose advice I can choose to take or leave. That actually sounds quite transformative. But for someone who's maybe struggling to even hear that voice clearly, what's the absolute first, like, concrete micro step the sources suggest to just begin that process?
The very first step can be super simple. When you hear that critical voice pop up, just label it silently to yourself. Just say, there's Nick again, or, okay, Wendy's chiming in. You don't have to argue with it. You don't have to fight it. Just label it. That tiny act creates this crucial bit of distance.
Just noticing and naming.
Exactly. And once you've named it, you can start to see it more objectively, maybe even laugh at it a little. Then you can begin to challenge it and eventually stop automatically believing it. Another really practical thing from the material is to actually write down the negative thoughts that pop up most often. Then, right next to each one, consciously write down a new version, something that feels more realistic or more encouraging, maybe even a bit humorous.
It's like literally rewriting the script for your own internal movie. It makes sense. And speaking of words and scripts, the material we looked at really highlights how language itself, the words we use, plays this absolutely massive role in changing our mindset.
Oh, it's huge. Words aren't just sounds or letters on a page. They're the actual building blocks for how we make sense of the world. And even more profoundly, how we make sense of ourselves. Every single time you talk, even just inside your own head, you're not just describing what is, you're actively creating your reality in that moment.
Wow. Okay. That really shifts things, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It makes you think about how much power is just sitting there, untapped, in the conversations we have with ourselves.
Absolutely. The language you use internally with yourself, it fundamentally shapes your motivation, your energy levels, your belief in what you can actually achieve.
So if I'm constantly telling myself I'm terrible at English, that thought isn't just a reflection of reality. It actively becomes my reality because I believe it, and act on it.
Precisely. That sentence, "I'm terrible at English," usually starts as a belief, right? Often maybe based on fear or a past mistake, but repeating it, dwelling on it, turns it into your perceived truth. And then often subconsciously you start acting like it's true. Maybe you avoid speaking opportunities. Maybe you don't study as hard. Your confidence dips.
It becomes a self-fulfilling loop.
Exactly. Now, contrast that with saying something like, "Okay, I'm still learning English, and yeah, it's challenging, but every day I understand a little bit more." See the difference? One labels you as a failure, basically. The other identifies you as someone capable who's actively learning. It's a totally different energy.
That's a much more empowering frame.
And it goes beyond just rewriting negative statements. The sources talk about things like linguistic preframing. That means actively choosing words before you even start something, words that set you up for success. For instance, instead of thinking, I have to study this grammar chapter, try shifting it to, okay, I get to deepen my understanding of how this language works.
From obligation to opportunity.
Exactly. That subtle shift, the research actually shows, can measurably boost your motivation and even how well you remember things.
That sounds like the whole door metaphor that came up in the sources, right? One way of phrasing closes the door, the other opens it.
Precisely. Yeah, I can't learn English. Door slam shut. Boom. End of story. But I'm learning English. Some days are harder than others, but I am making progress that pries the door open. It keeps possibility alive. And this really is the core of developing a growth mindset, that fundamental belief that your skills, your abilities, they aren't fixed things. They can be grown, cultivated, expanded if you put in the effort. It keeps that channel open for improvement.
So the process seems clear. Notice the negative self-talk.
Yes, notice it, then pause, question it like, is this really true?
Right, challenge it.
And then proactively rewrite it. Turn it into something helpful, something that actually moves you forward. Like, I always mess up. Could become, okay, mistakes happen. They're actually chances for me to learn and get better.
It really does come back to just treating yourself like you'd treat a good friend, doesn't it? You'd never constantly tell a friend, you're useless, you'll never get this. You'd say, hey, you're trying hard, I see you improving, keep going.
Yeah.
We need to offer ourselves that same kindness, that same realistic encouragement. It's not just about stopping the negative, it's about actively building up the positive in its place.
Absolutely. And that leads perfectly into another key concept from the sources, the idea of mental hygiene.
Mental hygiene. Okay, so like physical hygiene. We brush our teeth, wash our hands. What does mental hygiene look like day to day?
It's exactly that principle. Doing small, consistent things to keep your mind clear, strong, and healthy. Our sources really highlighted 3 powerful habits here. First one, gratitude journaling.
Okay, writing down things you're grateful for.
Yep, every morning or maybe every night, just take a few minutes, write down maybe 3 things you're genuinely grateful for. They don't need to be huge things, just specific and real, like, I'm grateful I had a quiet hour to study today, or I'm grateful I actually used that new idiom I learned. Simple, but powerful. What's next?
Second, affirmations. Choose a positive statement, something that resonates with you, that feels empowering, and consciously repeat it daily. Something like, I am improving step by step, or I am capable and I deserve to learn and grow.
Speaking that positive truth to yourself.
Exactly. And the third one is visualization. Close your eyes and actually see yourself succeeding, really vividly. Imagine having that conversation in English confidently, or nailing that presentation, or understanding a difficult concept. The more detail you can bring to that mental picture, the more your brain starts to believe it's not just possible, but actually likely.
So these aren't just like feel-good exercises, they're actively training your brain.
That's the idea, training it to expect positive outcomes, and in doing so, making them more likely to happen. It's proactive mental care.
Like tending a garden, making sure the right things grow. That makes a lot of sense. But it's not just what's happening inside our heads, right? Our environment, the world around us, that plays a huge role too. Oh, absolutely critical, yeah. Even the most positive internal mindset can be slowly, kind of sneakily undermined if your surroundings aren't supportive. Your environment shapes your thoughts, your feelings, your habits, often way more than we realize.
How so?
Well, think about it. If your social media feed is just full of negativity, or maybe those perfectly curated images that make you feel inadequate, that sends these little corrosive messages, right? That you're not good enough. Or if the people you spend the most time with are constantly complaining, it's really easy for those patterns to rub off on you.
Yeah, that environmental influence.
It doesn't necessarily mean you have to, like, cut everyone off, but it
Hmm.
does mean you need to be really conscious about protecting your mental space.
So being super intentional about what you let in, what you consume, who you spend time with.
Precisely. It's about curating your environment, like you curate an important collection. Choose carefully what you allow into your life. Follow people online who actually inspire you, who make you feel motivated about learning. Choose media. Deep dives like this one, hopefully. Books, shows that build you up instead of planting seeds of doubt.
Surround yourself with boosters, not drainers.
Exactly. And crucially, spend time with people who genuinely encourage your growth, who respect your journey, especially when you stumble. Your thoughts don't just float in a void, they grow in the soil of your environment. You want that soil to be rich and supportive, full of optimism and real opportunities, so your positive thinking can actually take root and thrive.
And that includes our physical space, too, right? Not just people or media.
Absolutely. Your workspace, your home environment, even the background noise you allow. Ask yourself honestly, does this space help me focus? Does it make me feel calm, inspired, hopeful? If the answer is no, maybe it's time to make some changes, even small ones, to make your surroundings work for you, not against you.
Okay, that makes sense. Environment matters. And finally, there's something that I think felt like the most powerful point, but maybe the most overlooked one from our sources. The role of action. It's not enough just to think positive thoughts, is it?
Yeah, this is the maybe slightly inconvenient, but ultimately liberating truth. Negative thinking doesn't just magically disappear because you decide intellectually, okay, I'm going to be positive now. While having that positive mindset is crucial, it primes the pump, so to speak. It's action that really forges the lasting change.
Action is what makes it real.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Real confidence doesn't come from waiting until you feel confident. It emerges from doing the thing, often while you still feel scared or uncertain. You might feel that wave of nervousness before speaking English, right? Your inner critic might be screaming, "Don't do it, you'll make a fool of yourself."
Yeah, that familiar fear.
But here's the magic. If you speak anyway, even with that fear churning inside you, you actively weaken that negative voice. You're proving it wrong, not just with thoughts, but with actual tangible evidence from your own experience. This process is literally rewiring your brain. Each time you step forward, despite the fear, your brain builds a tiny new pathway that says, hey, I did that and I survived. I can handle this.
So it really is about doing it afraid consistently. That feels like a huge practical takeaway. And it doesn't have to be massive leaps, does it?
No, absolutely not. Start small, but be relentless about consistency. Our sources are big advocates for microactions. Things like maybe join a really casual online conversation group. Don't aim for perfection, just aim to participate. Or record yourself speaking for just a minute and listen back, not with judgment, but just with curiosity. Like, okay, what can I learn here?
Tiny steps.
Tiny steps. Or just commit to asking one question in English each day. To anyone, a teacher, a friend, online. Progress isn't always loud and flashy. Sometimes it's as quiet as just raising your hand or offering a hesitant idea or saying hello first. But those small wins, they add up, they compound over time. They build your confidence from the inside out based on what you've actually done, not just on hoping or wishing.
So every action becomes a message back to your brain.
Yeah, exactly. A powerful message. I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm capable, I'm not giving up. And over time, that fear really does start to shrink, and your own authentic voice gets stronger and stronger. You end up becoming fluent, not just in English perhaps, but fluent in courage, fluent in resilience, and fluent in genuine self-trust. So, yeah, as we kind of wrap up this deep dive, the big takeaway is that negative thinking, okay, it can be loud, it can feel really stubborn, sometimes it's incredibly sneaky, but it is absolutely not unstoppable. It really isn't. When you combine that heightened awareness we talked about with consciously using language to reshape your beliefs and then taking those consistent, brave actions, even the tiny ones, you really can disarm it. And you replace it with something so much better. Genuine belief in yourself, real growth, and actually more joy. These aren't just, random tips. It's a whole integrated approach to taking back control of your mental well-being. Think of it this way. If your inner critic was a real person, would you invite them over for dinner every night? Probably not. This deep dive is kind of giving us the tools to politely show that uninvited guest the door.
That's such a great way to put it. And it feels really empowering, something truly actionable we can all take away. You really are so much more than your doubts. You're more than your mistakes. You're actually becoming something incredible. One thought, one word, one brave little step at a time. It really makes you think, doesn't it? Here's where it gets really interesting. Remember, the most powerful language you'll ever learn, well, it's probably how you speak to yourself.